Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on whenever you're watching this video. Welcome to yet another book review. Today we will discuss about Happiness at Work, a book written by Professor Srikumar Rao. Professor Rao is a acclaimed professor in business and leadership. His work on what makes successful leadership is well known, and he is also an author of the well-known book called Are You Ready to Succeed? It is also very interesting to note that his course back in Columbia Business School had an alumni group of its own. Today, we will see how he has fared in this book about happiness at work. Happiness is a very interesting topic. I'm sure if you're not an entrepreneurship enthusiast, or if you're not working for a cause and you are in a regular income based working professional, then you must have gone through some phases of unhappiness during your work life. And that brings this an important topic for any working professional. So I decided to pick this title because the title was also very catchy because it's all about happiness at work. Now, talking about the author, as I mentioned, he's a famous leader as well as a famous professor in his works in leadership and business. And I am Ahmedabad graduate and a PhD in marketing from Columbia Business School. He has taught in various B schools like Columbia Business School, London Business School, Kellogg School, and so on. But as of now, he is an independent consultant and runs a self-help leadership development institute called Rao Institute. Now let's get into what we are going to see if we are to read this book. It all starts with the mystery of happiness at work. As I mentioned, this is a very interesting topic as it not only concerns you as an employee but equally for employers. And I think apart from those who are working as per their true calling, as I mentioned, this is a very interesting topic as well. HR team of organization try to make their employees feel very happy and comfortable, and this book is more from a personal self-help perspective to get happiness in your work life. Professor Rao starts with big boasting claims like in his previous book also, like Are You Ready to Succeed? Also, some of the topics are borrowed from the previous book, which we will see later in this video. But essentially, if you look at the book, it is organized into 35 chapters or ideas and thoughts because he starts each chapter with some examples, some themes, but closes the chapter with an idea to practice. As is mentioned in the introduction, this book is not to be considered like a novel or a one-time read, but he urges all of us to read and reread multiple times and put to practice some of the thoughts and suggestions that he has put in all these chapters. Now, it's all about having empathy. The book, at least majority of the chapters, deals in one way or the other about being empathetic to yourselves, to our relationships, to our colleagues, and to our situations, and so on. The book actually starts with the topic of paradigm shifts. This is closely aligning with the concept of paradigm shift introduced by Stephen Covey in his book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. In fact, an example used by Professor Rao in this book is very similar to the one given by Covey as well. At a high level, first few chapters discusses about empathy and associated topics. Professor suggests not to be too hard on yourselves or others and the situations as well. The key suggestion from him is to break this challenge and to avoid labeling situations as bad things or negative mental chatter. Later on, Professor Rao concentrates on aspects like how to make affirmations work, how not to fail in ambitious spiral, and so on. And finally, the final part of the book goes on to more deeper philosophical thoughts. If I had to consider some of the learnings from this book, the most important thing was don't try to stereotype. This is often a pitfall that we all fall into whenever we try to stereotype people, stereotype occasions, stereotype new suggestions from others, stereotype management decisions, and so on. So this is an important factor that we shouldn't fall into this pitfall of stereotyping. It is key not to associate it's a good thing, that's a bad thing connotation to everything. The second thing is all about cultivating the habit of resilience. This is a key trait every self-help and leadership coach put trust on, right? The third thing was all about cultivating the habit of letting go. The author suggests to make this habit an integral part, irrespective of how many times you have to let go. Be it about some work that a colleague did, about a mistake that somebody did, about your ideas being not taken care. It's all about letting go and not keeping a grudge, whether it is in a personal relationship or in your professional self. Finally, invest in the process itself, right? To achieve something rather than focusing a sharp eye on just the outcome. Now, if you look at some of the suggestions, topics, chapters, you get the feeling that whether this book is all about happiness at work or it's more a self-help type book that is talking about the broader theme of being happy. This is where I felt the title is a little misleading. Probably this is more about happiness rather than just happiness at work. Now there are multiple topics that is controversial in nature as well as something which may not gel well. For example, he is very blunt in saying that you should always consider that some of the problems that you are facing today may always go away in a matter of time, and you should not keep that as a negative mental chatter, right? Similarly, there are things that he discusses where he says that we often tend to take a lot of or create a lot of drama around some of the things, especially if it doesn't work out the way that we work out. It's equally true when if it's in the personal relationship factors or in the professional front. Right? Now, as I mentioned again, some of the chapters I felt is very repetitive and often in similar lines of other self-help books that you might have read. For example, he talks about the deathbed exercise, which is very famous. That's all about what would you like to be remembered after you die. That makes the person that you are today. To time management and moving away from being me-centered rather than working in a team and working for others and helping others and so on and so forth. So all these topics are, if you consider, not specifically about at work, but in general about the person itself, right? But obviously it also helps in a work context. But as I mentioned, that at points you may wonder whether it's all about happiness in general or happiness at work specifically. Now, if you have read Are You Ready to Succeed by the same author, probably that's a better book, and that's what I felt, because as I mentioned, many of the chapters, many of the thoughts, many of the topics are very much overlapping between the two books, and probably I would pick Are You Ready to Succeed to work happiness or happiness at work. If you haven't read Are You Ready to Succeed, probably this is a good read, and I would consider it to be loosely written because of his writing style based on stories and analogies and so on. But if you were very particular and looking for some work related aspects, then probably this may disappoint you. Finally, as I mentioned, I would prefer to read Are You Ready to Succeed, because that's where he talks all about his research about mental models and why we kind of think in certain ways, why we try to stereotype, why we try to go in a negative spiral and so on, and what are the strategies that we can use. So given a choice, I would still prefer Are You Ready to Succeed rather than Happiness at Work. Thank you.